Thank you for staying with us on TMI. There's no better time to start talking about the issues on the program this morning than now. My two guests are already with me. Just from my immediate left here, I have Ayamehwe Edokpolo. He's a politician and is also a very, very articulate public affairs analyst. Good to have you on the program.
So nice to have you.
It's a pleasure. Happy New Year, I should say.
Same here, my brother.
All right, next to him is a very, very brilliant academic, someone who has handled on many of the national issues we discuss here on television and, of course, by extension on radio. He's a lecturer at the Department of International Studies and Diplomacy, University of Benin. Felix Osarieme, thank you for coming on the program as well.
Oh, yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me in this program.
I'm sorry, I'm not telling you Happy New Year because I've seen you a bunch of times this year already. Okay, that was on the lighter note, really. But gentlemen, let's get talking about an issue that we shouldn't be taking lightly now. That's an issue that borders on national security. Every now and then we get to talk about security in this country, but just yesterday, it will appear there was this sort of unprecedented coincidence when you look at the number of people who had to weigh into this very important issue, from the Senate to the House of Reps to the President and to other stakeholders across this country. Everybody is saying, look, there must be something wrong somewhere. There's probably something we're not looking at. In fact, the President is even saying that the issue of banditry now gives him perhaps more concern than that of Boko Haram, because it will appear, for want of better words, people are now becoming used to, as it were, the fact that Boko Haram is a phenomenon, however a nasty one. But banditry too has become insidious and it's spreading so fast across this country, to the point that you can almost not give it ethnic coloration, political coloration, or religious coloration anymore. Felix, I want you to walk us through how we evolved security-wise to this point.
Well, let me follow your trend. Crime has no color. We sometimes miss the mark in this country. As you were giving your intro, something, and I just crossed my mind that we are so blessed in Nigeria, but we take a lot of things for granted in this country. We take it for granted because we don't have that sense of accountability. The cardinal duty, responsibility of government is the security of life and property. It therefore means that whatever you have to bring to bear to achieve that cardinal objective should be given prime attention. Now we have a country where over the years, because of the class system, the privileged few have enough resources to guarantee their own security. The majority, the masses of the people, they are left to their own devices. Sometimes they are even told that it is their faith. So whatever happens to them, they should take it in. That they will tell you, it is well. It is how God wills it. I've had the opportunity of staying in the northern part of the country, and most of them, they will tell you, Alani, that is how it's to be. But interestingly, that is not how it should be. Take yourself back in time. Over the years, the senior public office holders, the political class, the ruling class, the elites, they don't suffer insecurity challenges unless there's a rift in their own class, where maybe you find that there could be issues of maybe high-level assassination, then open conflagration, which is very rare. But most of it is the common man. You hear of robbery, people being killed. Before now, it was more of, okay, armed robbers sneaking, they cross the wall, they break through the
cases
wall.
of burglary.
Yeah, burglary, normal. But now, in the last 5 years and ongoing, there's a new trend. You see gangs of criminals now. They will lay siege to a community, waste what they can waste, take what they can take. Nigerians have becoming used to hearing that, oh, 50 persons have just been killed. 27 persons died. At least in Nigeria, a former Inspector General of Police said only 29 persons, as if human beings are statistical indices. So it has come to that point where we begin to ask, where did we lose our humanity? Because the ruling class, the leadership did not believe that it was a problem until it came home. And as we jokingly say sometimes in Benin here, until a big man dies on the bad road, the road does not get proper government attention. Now, why is it sad now? We hear of convoy of leaders of thoughts, political heads being attacked governors' convoy being attacked.
Sitting governors.
Sitting governors, not even past governors. We hear of a retired army major general being killed on the road. We hear of the convoy of the emir being attacked on the road. So it is now clear that, as we do say in academics, security is everybody's concern. And it is a proper thing to make sure that everybody is secure. Because if you say those people are there, it is their business, we are okay with it, one day it will spread, and it has spread now. That's why right now, even on Abuja-Kaduna Road, you find that the railway system that has been controlled. We read reports last month of gunshots being fired at the railway line. At least, thank God, the passengers did not suffer any harm. But it has become scary to the point now that if you want to travel, you give your life to God. When you arrive at the other side, you collect it back from God. So Nigeria has now deteriorated to the state of almost, I won't use the word total anarchy, but we are pushing it. And the bandits that we are talking of now, they are localized. This is not insurgency where this is a political contestation. This is crime that has become beneficial. Kidnapping and banditry, they are going hand in hand. And the difference here is that it is not as if one or two persons were taken out. It is that a whole community could be attacked, a whole village will be laid siege on consistently, and at times you hear that the governors will say they have to negotiate with these bandits to ensure that there will be a middle ground. Just 2 days ago, we heard of what happened on the road to Port Harcourt, that a bus carrying passengers, everybody was taken away and the driver shot. And we wake up these days to hear more of such gory news. It is sad, it is unfortunate, and that is the way we are living today. But we can do better than this. There are possibilities, there are processes that can be put in place to address this challenge.
We're going to talk about those processes, because just yesterday now, talking about solutions being profiled, both chambers of the National Assembly, Senate and House of Reps, had said there is need to quickly rejig the security architecture in this country. But let me talk to you for a minute about this. As it stands today, it will appear we're overwhelmed as a country, because this issue of security has become like dough with so much of yeast on it, right?
To start with, we must accept the fact that what we are seeing now, is a build-up, and the build-up didn't start today. The build-up started as a result of negligence, nonchalance, and indisposition to take critical responsibility by governments of yesteryears, including the Buhari's presidency. When I'm on board this type of talk show, try as much as possible to be truthful.
Away from politics.
Yes. Part of why we are where we are is people are too unnecessarily partisan, and people are too blindfolded with partisan politics that they are afraid to say the truth. If a party man of my party is where we are, I will speak it, I will mention his name so that we can move on. Now, I like to say, as a matter of fact, this thing started many years ago. We had in this country where former president ordered, security cameras. Okay, he ordered security cameras in billions of naira worth. Somewhere, somehow, those security cameras were stolen and nowhere to be found. And so these are build-ups. You see, even in advanced society, despite the special or strategic training of men of security to man security, posts or divisions, you still need the aid of technologies to be able to do clinical investigation or even preventive. For instance, our conversations on phone are being monitored, through the aid of advanced technology. And those advanced devices, technological devices, are able to indicate a tendency to crime. This is how the world has evolved. The global, technology village has evolved to the level where you now have devices that can indicate that the conversation between these persons, are plausibly heading towards a commission of crime. And you see, responses, proactive responses, talking about proactive security measures now. It's not all the time that something happened, then you start to hear siren, running here and there. No! How do we name these things? That's why, for instance, you have, special investigative bureau, you have intelligence agencies like the DSS. Then even you have intelligence agencies in the army. Okay, the purpose of these people is to go underground and identify, possible tendencies to crime and find ways to nip them in the bud.
Right.
I must say without any equivocation whatsoever, that just now, what we call Boko Haram, in my own opinion, has broken into various phases of disguised insurgency. I say this without any equivocation. The truth is that this whole level of sophistication, you cannot rule out terrorism, whether they are not coming in form of banditry. It's a sophisticated advanced crime where a community can be under siege of some men, brandishing AK-49, and you say that is a joke. It's not a joke. AK-49 is by no means a joke. It brings down aircraft. And so these people have, evolved ways and means to be able to fund their insurgency network. And it is high time, like you have, analyzed a while ago, that our security architecture is overhauled. People talk about sack of
service chiefs.
Army support.
But is that going to be an all-embracing solution to the problem?
You see, it is part of it.
Okay.
It is part of it. We saw in this society a year or two ago, a certain general, Ogbemudia, was leading, Nigeria to good news, as far as the Boko Haram insurgency was concerned. Somewhere along the line, the man was redeployed. A commander of a military unit, crushing the insurgents with success stories. Somewhere, somehow, the man was redeployed. So it just tells you that there is something some people do not want some of us to know about this Boko Haram terrorism. Some of us have encountered even some mobile policemen who says if they are deployed there, they will do better than what the army is doing right now. It's not that the army is not physically trained and empowered, but are they strategically mobilized? Are there no unseen hands within the armed forces that are aiding and abetting this form of terrorism that we are witnessing today? Because Abacha once said, General Abacha of Blessed Morris once said, that if terrorism, or insurgency exceeds more than 24 hours, he said government is involved. If terrorism or
is that theory proven? Really?
You see, the theory is this. When we say government is involved, does not mean that the governor or the president is involved.
Okay, so there could be conspiracy from within.
Of course. Part of why, for instance, Condestable Dasuki was arrested by Buhari and was, intelligently proved.
Arrested by the federal government.
By the federal government,
yes.
was because of allegations of conspiracy theories.
Apparently.
So this is what we're talking about. So it gives credence to the fact that you could have some persons in your government who are aiding and abetting terrorism against the country. So I think that it is high time that this issue is critically overhauled. And sometimes the presidency and the security chiefs should try as much as possible to take their counter-terrorism strategy out of the purview of the public or even some other persons.
Okay.
Some of these things should not just be discussed, like we always say in care guides. Intelligence issues are not discussed in the marketplace. You should try as much as possible to codify some of your plans.
Okay.
And let your responses
and
let your
treat them as classified information.
Of course.
I'm going to talk to Felix again about this issue. Boko Haram has a history in this country. When the ranking of terror groups across the world was done a few years ago on the BBC, for example, you would see the ranking would go where you had ISIS at top, you had Boko Haram at second, then Qaeda, Hamas, and the rest following. Before now, we understand that countries like the US and the UK had offered to be of assistance to us, technically and otherwise. Some persons say we did not leverage those opportunities enough, that if we had, we wouldn't be where we are today. How much of those sentiments do you share?
Well, the Nigerian psyche is condensed into the ego of the ruling class. We want to claim that we are a sovereign state. So because we are a sovereign state, you know, the concept of sovereignty, we have the capacity to decide things within our territory without recourse to external interference. So if you use that quote, bring it home to the Nigerian government talking of the ability to contain insurgency, they will likely tell you, no, we don't want it to be seen that outsiders helped us to solve this problem.
Okay.
The good thing about insurgency is that insurgency is such an intractable malaise that there is no one country that addresses it alone. Go back to 9/11 when George Bush was still president of the US, immediately after the attack on the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. He did say that the fight against terrorism and insurgency is going to take a long time.
Right.
And that America was ready to go into the dark and chase down those that were responsible for these attacks. But that America would not go alone. So he used a multilateral approach. The last administration under Goodluck Jonathan, towards the election period, adopted that approach. They brought in the multinational joint task force, collaborated with Chad, with Niger, with Cameroon. And you could see that within that 6 weeks window that he requested for, insurgency in the Northeast was bottled up a bit. We also have information that a time existed when the American government supported the move against Boko Haram in the Northeast, and they eventually pulled that because when it was the issue of these girls that were kidnapped,
The Chibok.
Chibok girls,
Right.
that they already planned to go to that area and use chemical components that will make everybody inactive
Asleep, yeah.
in that area. And that before they could act on that plan, they found that the insurgents were now wearing gas masks. So how did
So there was a compromise.
Of course, we know. In fact, there are moves everywhere. When Jonathan was president, he did say that even inside his administration, there were elements of Boko Haram. The man did not hide it. So we should stop playing politics. Thank God my co-discussant mentioned it clearly. You see, the biggest problem in our security management in Nigeria is politics. Remove the argument. My mother did not go to. My mother wants to be. Said, look, my son, policemen are for the privileged. That's why when you call the police, they will ask you, where do you stay? If you say you are staying in Ugbiyohu, they'll tell you there's no fire in their vehicle.
With due respect to those in Ugbiyohu.
I'm not insulting them. I'm trying to give an analogy.
Yes.
But if you say you stay behind government house, they will have where to get to your place. Now, this is the mathematics that we have been facing. Right now, it has become everybody's headache. They should have known long ago that security is indivisible. Thomas Hobbes said this long ago. He said security is everybody's concern. And that without security, there can be no guarantee of life and property, and there will be no progress.
Right.
So it is the center of survival in society. And he did say then too that that is the reason why governments keep buying arms and training their men, consider that it's a war that is perpetual in nature. So the government of Nigeria plays politics with security. That is why we are the way we are today. They should have taken it to the clear point. You cannot fight Boko Haram. After Boko Haram gets funding from outside the country, they've made contact with ISIS. We have ISWAP, Islamic State of West African Province. We have information that at the time they made contact with Al-Shabaab in East Africa. So by the time you find criminals collaborating across international boundaries, what is the next step you should do? Use the same method. Now let us bring it back to the intelligence matter. How do they communicate? They must use cell phones or landlines or whatever. Please, before God and man, this is not rocket science. There is no way. Once you put on a phone, you have what we call a digital signature. It goes to the server. Anywhere you originate a call, it can be traced. Every gun that is made in this world has a number. That gun can be traced. Every bullet has a number. So we should stop. Nigerian government has become so political that politics is even swallowing the politicians in Nigeria. At the time, they forget themselves. In fact, the only time Nigerian politicians sometimes tell the truth is when they say that politician is lying. That's the only time they don't speak the truth. So we should come home and ask ourselves this question. Why is this thing looking like magic? It is not magic. Other countries understand security implications, and you see the way they synergize immediately. So you must bring in all sectors. Army, Navy, Police, Air Force, then you bring in the local community. Criminals are not ghosts. They exist in communities, and people in those communities know them. Sometimes, out of fear of reprisal attacks, they will not talk. Then look at the international connection. Nigeria is bounded by how many countries up north there? We have Chad, we have Niger, we have Cameroon. And all of them share the Lake Chad region with Nigeria. And Lake Chad is one vast inland body of water that allows these Boko Haram elements to move in and move out freely. Because you cannot draw lines on water. So they can easily come in with boats and escape with boats. So all these things are issues that we should be looking at clearly. If you watch some of the reports that are shown on some private media houses, not the normal mainstream government media that will not reveal this information, you will hear that even the naval boats that were stationed in the Lake Chad has been taken sometimes by these insurgents from our military personnel. And they now use it to fight. At times they will attack military base, take the arms. In fact, most times there's even the claim that some of the officers are involved in arms dealing with these insurgents. So when you have such a situation, there is no sincerity of purpose in this matter. You therefore find that those you have contracted your security to, they are not securing you. They are only securing their own pockets.
That in itself is a big problem.
That is why there's a bigger problem. That at the point you don't even know where to draw the line.
Okay, we're going to try to draw the line at some points as far as this issue is concerned. We're going to put up a number on the screen for you now, so you can send us your contributions, share your thoughts with us on these issues we're discussing via SMS, strictly via SMS. That number will be on the screen in a minute. But I just want to talk to Ayamehwe, still about this security issue. The governors of the southwest of the country have come together to form a common front as far as counter, if you like, banditry is concerned, right? Amotekun is here to stay, that's what they're saying. Even though we know at the point there was some controversy that also trailed that with the Attorney General of the Federation saying that it is illegal. We understand that some understanding has been brought into that issue now as far as Amotekun is concerned. We also are beginning to feel the pulses of other regions, so if you like, zones of the country.
Geopolitical zones.
Yes, beginning to think along the line of Amotekun. They want to have their own version, as it were, of it. Some people say that's a precursor to state policing. The same state policing that many people are trying to avoid.
Yeah, you see, you cannot rule out the concept of, community policing. What we have just now is a hydra-headed security challenge that requires, a native, a natively, colorated responses. You can't, a man outside of the country cannot know the security challenge more than a man in his own country. Same way in our community. So for me, I think that the concept of Amotekun was well conceptualized, and it was fashioned within the ethnic, national, cultural orientation of the average Yoruba man. And it is a response that is very, very proactive and was well laid out. It's apt in all ramifications. And so my advice to the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, and other security agencies is to work assiduously with Amotekun to realize crushing defeat of all forms of armed banditry, or headers disguised terrorism in the whole of Southwest. And so my advice goes to other governors of other geopolitical zones. You cannot say because of election or re-election, like the case of Ondo State Governor, he said some days ago, that his support for Amotekun will not affect his re-election bid. And for me, you see, we must think of the next generation and not the next election.
Right.
And so thinking about the next generation, what the Ondo State Governor had done, Akeredolu SAN, by supporting the Southwest brothers in the conceptualization of Amotekun, is a welcome development that all other governors should embrace. You see, the concept of state police must first evolve from community police.
Okay, so it evolves.
It must evolve, of course. It's going to gather, it's going to get, state houses of assembly, endorsement or stamp as we go. As we go. It's going to get National Assembly stamp or endorsement as we go. Because, first of all, you have to conceptualize it within the wavelength of training, funding, capacity, and responses, including technological acquisition. Right. So once these people are trained and people are beginning to get, very, very reasonable responses from their inception, people will embrace it, and before you know it, people will start talking about the decentralization of police, and equipping these guys and bringing them into mainstream policing for the state. So it is a welcome development, because right now, as we saw in Southwest, and even in Edo State, for instance, the Oba of Benin, His Royal Majesty Omonoba Nedo Oba Iwaye II Ogidigan, said it loud and clear. People came out in the headlines of newspapers that our forests in Edo have been taken over by herdsmen. By herdsmen. And so this Oba will not talk without having, very knowledgeable facts and dependable facts of the issues.
Right.
And so, because he's a diplomat, and this is true. And so you will expect an average Edo man to, welcome and embrace the concept of an Edo-based Amotekun. So Amotekun is a concept that has come to stay. And I continue to give the governors, the founding governors of Amotekun, my prayers and solidarity. So we must conceive of it. Go to Orion, go to Esan Land. I am told that people are not used to daily kidnapping of their brothers and sisters. You just sit down, they just say, see that they come so. Just take somebody away. Nothing is happening. People will naturally want to respond. They are not equipped. They are not inspired. They are not encouraged to do anything. And so I think that it is something that everyone should embrace. Because like you have said, and like my very articulate co-discussants has elaborately enunciated a while ago, security is everyone's business.
Sure.
It's not something that can be left in the hands of, government as we have it just now, which has shown gross insensitivity, to the plight of the citizenry as far as security is concerned. Because when you start to talk about the use of such phrase like Fulani herdsmen, people say, okay, you are attacking an ethnic nationality. Okay, that I understand. But if you say herdsmen or herders, people know who you are talking about. And so because of that, some persons who would have naturally want to respond say, no, I don't think these people are right. They have a way of attacking our people or brandishing our people as criminals or criminalizing our people. And so they will not want to respond. But now, by the time we now have our own community-driven policing units, you'll be amazed as to how rescue will be provided. Go to Orion, go to most of the villages in Ovia, go to Wode. There is no place in Edo State, for instance, that are not riddled with all manners of kidnapping, and broad daylight, and banditry. So these things must be checked. So I want to speak straightly to governors of other geopolitical zones.
To take a cue.
To take a cue.
Okay,
waste no time.
There's a contribution here coming through via SMS. I told you a while ago that we're going to put that number for you on the screen. Says the federal government should stop treating Boko Haram with kids' gloves. This is coming from Osarity, from Texter Miroj. I want to push a part of this discussion to Felix again. A lot of persons believe that when you look at the way insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery, all of these criminal phenomena have been on the rise in the last couple of years. It can only be indicative of the fact that, in all likelihood, federal government is overwhelmed.
Well, sometimes we get too academic in our discussion. The government is even the creator of all these problems.
You want to help us explain that?
Let me explain that very easily. In Nigeria, till now, we think security is carrying a gun, chasing somebody. That's our failure. Security is not that. You see, my cousin had mentioned this. We have SIIB, State Intelligence and Investigation Bureau. Do they use them? Everybody is arresting somebody, bringing handcuff. That is the physical part. A knowledge-driven society, you don't even really see what's going on. Please, before we even elaborate further, this discussion we're having this morning, is it this morning we agreed that we are discussing? We already thought of it. We knew we were coming here. The stage, as we said, the props are in place, so we just sit. So this is finished product. So you see policemen or soldiers mopping up as finished product, but somebody has gone underground. The intelligence gathering capacity of Nigerian government is not in doubt. It is that they don't use it well. You actually have all of these officers. They have the requisite training, both within and outside the country. In the favor we have in academics is that we interact with people across a very vast spectrum. So within the country, outside the country, we get contacts, we get calls, we have contact with security operatives who will tell us, no, this is how we do it in our own part of the world. This is how we have been working. Sometimes even Interpol, we have some friends, they will tell us, no, that this should have been done. Only in Nigeria you hear that the police will go on air first and tell you how they are going to prosecute a criminal. Or how a case is ongoing, you have already exposed your strategy. Look, if we want to address it, the government is not overwhelmed. That's why I said politics is too much in this matter. We keep hearing of security votes that is not accounted for. So all the security votes you have been collecting, come and account for it. Let us ask that simple question. Bring out all this money. What do you use it for? If, let's say, in one administration of 4 years, security vote was, let's say, 500 billion, and there was no security for that, or at least the consistent explanation of insecurity is now the normal discussion. Then we should ask those people, the money you took, what do you use it for? How many arms did you procure? What training did you carry out? How many arrests did you effect? What prosecution did you get? That is the trend. It's not just to say you hear on TV, oh, 20 persons were arrested on Ibadan-Lagos road for attacking so-and-so person, the case ends there. We don't do proper follow-up. So the government is not overwhelmed. The government is playing politics because in a way, that's how they justify the security votes they take. Sometimes you create crisis to gain relevance.
So going forward, how do we win in this one?
Very easy.
Because there's a battle in front of us.
It is very easy. The government, that's why, you see, the simplest answer is always the correct one in any matter. And what is the simplest answer here? You cannot fight crime without involving the local community. The Nigerian mentality is always everything must come from the top. Sometimes when you are bathing and the weather is very cold, you start by washing your legs first. You can't pour water on your head, it will be too cold, you will freeze. So you start by washing your legs. You gradually warm up your body from your feet. So the government should come home. When Amotekun was declared as the Western Nigeria Security Network, it didn't take 24 hours. The Atojera came out, blazing his guns. It should have said, oh, we commend your effort, but we should look at the constitutional provision, whether this is acceptable or not. That is how you talk in civil terms. You just rule them out. As if because the idea didn't come from the top, so it's an illegal idea. Meanwhile, they carried the police command along all the way. Now, let us quickly break this down. Every community, as we know even in Benin, you see, these are homegrown truths. As I was grown up in Benin, it was difficult then for you to go and arrest somebody in your area without first of all talking to your John Were. You start from your local community. You call the person in. If you go and bring the police, they will say, no, but we could have resolved this matter. But if it becomes a criminal, they will say, no, call in the police.
Right.
People will be willing to testify. But over the years, there has been this breakdown of confidentiality, of competence. The police system in Nigeria is at its lowest because of underfunding, gross insensitivity to the welfare of the policemen, and excessive politicization.
There's a certain Chief Newton Osawa who is watching from Lagos. Your contribution just came through. You're saying it is unfortunate that some Nigerians have politicized issues of security in our country. You say every state should embrace community policing regardless of the federal government's position. Motekun has come to stay. That's Chief Newton Osawa from Lagos. Good morning. Tony from Benin. I believe insurgencies created by governments, Nigerians, reactive security systems instead of proactive. The only way out should be to engage young blood into security. Is that really the way out, gentlemen? Let me talk to
you can't rule out the need to flood our security architecture just now with more much more energetic minded people, Nigerians, who have gotten the energy, have gotten the patriotic willpower, to impart, side by side, offering them critical and strategic training, so that they can be of very, very relevant and proactive impact. As the contributor with SMS has said, we are much more reactive rather than being proactive. I have said that the whole purpose of intelligence units of our armed forces is to gather intelligence with a view to nipping security challenges in the bud. Under President Yaradua, I think the DSS performed very, very, very impressively in a number of cases on Boko Haram. They were able to round up the people that perpetrated the bombing of an area. They give you, in a chronology, chronicle details of their phone conversations, of movement of arms, mulling of arms and all of that, and how they carry out their operations and everything, you will see it in their prosecuting notes of these elements or these suspects.
But how do you now find this fracture between where we were?
That is what I'm saying. You see, at some point, the reward system of our country is at its worst level. You know, when you have a crass reward system where people who diligently serve the country, you know, are being victimized, are being suppressed and oppressed, those who have such tendencies of patriotism, you know, naturally become weakened. Some of them even, you know, eclipse the environment. They just walk away. And so if you have a reward system where those who diligently are serving the country are rewarded by promotion, are rewarded by encouragement, even the presidential handshake
can go a long way.
Can go a long way. And so where you have, I was talking about the case of General Ogbamudia just now, who was leading the Nigerian army against the insurgents in the Boko Haram of Borno, was making progress. At some point, the man was just withdrawn, and people started speculating that perhaps the godfathers who were not happy with the success story decided to pull him out. But are we to be talking about the interests of Godfather or the collective interests and aspirations of people towards having a safe haven in those areas?
There's a Sydney from Lagos. You're watching. You say the president should change his security architecture. The problem will still be there if one section of the country continues to head these security outfits. That's your opinion and your contribution to the show. And then the Sosayande who also is saying, I think 80% of government has a hand in it. Let them sit and think about it, that this thing is already going out of their hands. When it is out of their hands, there will be no solution to it. You say, okay, 80% you say, I don't know how you came by those statistics, but again, it's your opinion. But someone just talked about the need to, as it were, rejig or to overhaul, or some people will say, let's reshuffle the security architecture. Some have even said, let's have an outright firing of the security chiefs, just like I asked my discussants a while ago. Will that answer the question as far as security is concerned in this country? There have also been discussions about how that we need to reward, which Ayameho has also talked about. We need to reward handsomely those who put their lives on the line to fight insurgency in this country. They have to be respected, they need to be honored, they need to be seen and appreciated for the work that they do for this great country. So going forward, these are the issues we should be looking at.